Yeah, the female, every time we deal with her, I'm surprised by her behavior. You know, her body by Monday, and it was only 3 days after this, it looked surprisingly good. We knew she was eating by that stage, we knew she'd been drinking by that stage. And if you looked at everything else besides her face, she actually looked like an animal that had just been through a difficult capture and nothing else. But when we got to her face, you know, after the first anesthetic that we'd given her, to start to treat her, then what I had seen on day one, which I knew was bad, once we started removing all the dried blood and getting some of the maggots out and cleaning away bits of grass and mud and pus that had already built up there, you could see the full extent of her injuries. And you know, you could also just see how brutal the hacking was. There's no surgery involved. This is just like chopping a block of wood for these guys. And I think even that, whether they're moving at the time when they're hacking their faces to pieces, I don't know, but they're just cuts all over the place. Some of them glance off the bone and slide in under the skin down towards the eye. And I just, when I was working on her face, I just thought this is just so unnecessary, because the part of her that they were trying to get is 2 inches away from where they were slashing her. They went down through, well beyond the horn. They went through the skin, they went below the growth plate, they slashed through the bone that the growth plate sits on, through the skull below that, and right into the sinuses. It's just such a mess, and there's just absolutely no regard for that animal. And in 3 days, unfortunately, what I wasn't expecting was how much complications there were already there in maggots and infection and pus and debris that had built up. And so it was a very traumatic sight to know that we'd allowed her to go for 3 days like that, and now suddenly we thought, yo, this animal has gone through even more than we thought she would. And it still didn't make sense that she was looking as good as she was, given the extent of her facial injuries. Her behavior still didn't match the extent of her injuries. And that just gave me even more hope for her, because here was an animal that must have been going through more than we could possibly comprehend, and yet she had enough fighting spirit in her to be doing some of the normal things that rhino do. And just her demeanor and her behavior and the way she was walking and her response to the helicopter when we came in, those were all almost normal, and completely not what I was expecting to see.